There's a trend happening among the right. And if you've been paying close attention, you might have noticed that acting dumb or playing stupid tends to be the strategy that's utilized whenever it comes to the issue of violent attacks carried out in the United States by Trump supporters, white supremacists, militia groups, right-wing gang members. And so why don't we begin with the first example? And that has to do with QAnon and whether or not QAnon is real, whether or not our Republican lawmakers know QAnon exists. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tried to play dumb in the clip that you're about to watch. Let's take a look.
It would be helpful if you could hear exactly what she told all of us, denouncing QAnon. I don't know if I say it right, I don't even know what it is. Any from the shootings, she said she knew nothing about lasers or all the different things that have been brought up about her.
So that's Kevin McCarthy providing cover for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a conspiracy theorist and has advocated for violence against her political opponents, including the execution of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. But the whole point there is that he's pretending as though he doesn't know that QAnon exists. He doesn't know what QAnon is. But if you go back just a little bit, go back to August of 2020, seems like he knew well what QAnon is.
There is no place for QAnon in the Republican Party. I do not support it. And the candidate you talked about has denounced it.
He's just so ridiculous. And there's more examples for you, Cenk, but you want to jump in?
Yeah. First of all, I love this. Like, QAnon, what name so? Never heard of it. Is it QAnon or Quran? I've never heard. What? This Trump or Drumpf that you talk about, is it Donald Drumpf? Oh, Donald Trump. Oh yeah, I've barely heard of him. I don't know. But golly gee, Mitch McConnell. Come on, dude. We all know you know what QAnon is. Okay. Second of all, you're having a giant debate about whether to remove her from the committee. It's a national debate. Everyone on television is talking about it. Every newspaper is writing about it. And then he says, "Oh, this thing about lasers." She says he doesn't know anything about it. No. The question isn't her lying about knowing about it. The question is it true? And there's a Facebook post she wrote talking about how Jews like the Rothschilds build a space laser made up of solar panels and shoot it into forests to start fires. So if she goes, "Oh, what is this Marjorie Taylor?"
Oh my God.
Grun, I don't know what is this Facebook you're talking about? No, it's a Facebook post. And look, there it is. She's got to figure it out. No,
that is amazing B-roll.
This is, by the way, if Jews built that, congrats. That's an amazing machine. So we laugh about it, but it's serious. It's really like insane and really hurtful, damaging. Conspiracy. Look, these conspiracy theories, it's not like they didn't have an effect. They chanted the Jews will not replace us in Charlottesville, and then they killed someone. They've already hit 2 synagogues. One of the guys who invaded the Capitol had a shirt that said Camp Auschwitz on it. And then Kevin McCarthy comes on here and is like, she says she doesn't know anything about it. Get out of here, you liar.
Well, we have more examples for you, and I agree with you that it's damaging when you're intentionally downplaying. First of all, what the reality is of your voters, right? Republican voters overwhelmingly support politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene. The majority of the Republican voters look at her and they think, yeah, I'm in favor of that. And when you minimize the impact of that and the threat that it has in the United States, well, then you're downplaying what happened during the Capitol riots, what happened during that hate march in Charlottesville, what happened in that mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, that was inspired by anti-immigrant rhetoric coming from the Trump campaign, Trump administration. And then of course you have your nightly white supremacists on Fox News like Tucker Carlson playing stupid as well. Let's watch.
Listen as the geniuses explain how the single biggest threat to this country isn't Chinese hegemony or even the coming hyperinflation, pretty much a certainty now, which was 100% caused by elite mismanagement of our economy. But no, let's not talk about that. The real threat is a forbidden idea. It's something called QAnon.
So that was from January 26th, but as recently as yesterday, we played you guys a montage of Tucker Carlson downplaying and minimizing, white supremacy in the United States and the right-wing gang members who pose a threat and have carried out acts of violence in multiple instances in recent years. I mean, the FBI has put out study after study indicating that right-wing extremism continues to be a massive threat in the US. And then, some of these right-wing extremists are a little bit savvy. They'll scope out people who are either literally dumb or lazy or just will help them launder their image. And that certainly happened during a recent interview with a Boogaloo boy on Jimmy Dore's show. And we talked about that in great detail and talked about why there's no way the left can or ever should align themselves or work with the Boogaloo boys because they don't believe in the federal government. Like their goals are very different. And also they've carried out acts of violence, including murders in the United States. And so during a recent interview that Jimmy Dore refused to post, the subject that he was interviewing, the person he was interviewing, recorded it on his own and released some snippets, including just a conversation about the reality of Boogaloo boys. And again, just notice a similar theme here. Let's watch.
This particular Boogaloo boy, Magnus Panvidya, in his own words on Twitter, he's talking about his support of Kyle Rittenhouse, and it's a hill that he's willing to die on. When asked whether he's left or right, and whether BLM is more important than what happened with Rittenhouse, he says, he'll die on that hill, the Rittenhouse hill, and he says, I choose both / shrug. I mean, there is some merit to what people are talking about.
Okay, so that guy in particular, you're saying that guy in particular is a defender of Kyle Rittenhouse.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so and Kyle Rittenhouse was the guy, was it Wisconsin?
Yeah. The Kenosha, Wisconsin. Yeah, the Kenosha shooter.
Yeah. And who did he kill? A lot of folks say, no, Jimmy, that guy's lying to you. So then I go to the ADL and I look up the ADL and they say, no, that guy's not lying to you. They actually support Black Lives Matter, and they're not racist.
So one can argue that maybe, Jimmy Dore didn't know, but he did give himself away when he mentioned the Anti-Defamation League, meaning the ADL, because anyone can go to the website and read what the ADL has compiled for research on the Boogaloo boys. And they did not say what Jimmy says they said. With the movement's public image in mind, Boogalooers often insist their movement is not racist. One Boogalooer active on Facebook and Twitter, known as Molotov, is an explicit white supremacist who believes in a race war. And then they continue to share, more evidence of, while it might not be racism is not necessarily a view held by every member of that right-wing militia. The truth is they pretend to support Black Lives Matter because they see a potential race war as their opportunity to provoke a civil war in the United States. And they want a civil war to overthrow the government because they don't believe in the government. All of that information on the ADL website. Cenk.
Yeah, look, whenever I see the Jimmy clips now, it's super sad. So the guy who was interviewing there is Rod Weber. And Rod secretly recorded it. If you're mad at him for that, last time apparently he was on Jimmy's show, Jimmy would not air it. So this time he was worried that the same thing was gonna happen. And Rod did not air it right away. He waited 10 days and gave Jimmy a chance to air any version of that interview. And apparently Jimmy wouldn't do it. So he released this so people know. And as you look through it, it's super sad. I mean, he doesn't even know what the ADL is. At one point, he seemed to claim that the CIA is changing his Wikipedia page. Dude, you're just not that important, okay? And if the CIA is going around changing Wikipedia pages, they should have better things to do. I mean, but look, that's just you're down a rabbit hole you can't get out of. That's just crazy. And then you don't know who Kyle Rittenhouse is. I mean, I know the whole thing like, oh, his shtick is I'm a comedian, I don't know anything. And then he'll turn around and say, I know everything, I have the best strategy. Which one is it, Jimmy? And so I don't even want to talk about it because it's so sad to look at. And so anybody with sense knows Boogaloo Bo is trying to destroy the government that gives us Medicare, Social Security, let alone Medicare for all, which Jimmy claims to be for. Oh, I'm the biggest fighter for Medicare for all. Let's invite people on who are going to destroy the government so you can't have any Medicare at all. It's just none of that makes any sense. But to go back to Tucker Carlson for a second, he said, we're going to have hyperinflation, which I think that there's a good chance that will happen. That's another long story, but he says because of elite mismanagement. Yeah, that's also true, except who was the guy who was just in charge for the last 4 years? The guy who just mismanaged it. Oh, right, you forgot to mention that's your friend Donald Trump, the guy whose ass you kiss on a daily basis. And then finally on Tucker, he said, oh, QAnon, this forbidden idea. As if like, oh, the elites are trying to keep down this forbidden idea. They don't want you to know it, but it's actually the way that framing makes it sound like it's appealing. Like if you knew it, you'd know that it was real, but they don't want you to know it. So what are some of the things QAnon believes in? That the Democrats and Democratic leadership and some celebrities eat babies, like literally eat babies. They drink their blood and they harvest their brain juice. It's not a forbidden idea. It's just the dumbest, most hateful, idiotic idea, insane idea anybody's ever heard. But Tucker makes it sound like it's cool. Oh, this forbidden idea they don't want you to know about. Did you know that they're harvesting brain juice? No, you're a moron. Actually, you're not. Tucker's a perfectly smart guy. He's really evil. He's a guy who's strategizing to help these terrible, hideous people. And finally, to wrap all of that together, again in Rod's videos, you see the minute Rod mentions like, hey, you don't go on Tucker Carlson's show to validate some of the things he's saying because that's dangerous. That's when Jimmy gets the angriest. Because, hey, do not challenge his shine. He must get on Fox News so he could be a bigger celebrity. That's a third rail. Do not touch that. Who's right? Who's wrong? Medicare for all. Right-wing murderers. Who cares? Who cares? I'm going on Fox News. I'm a very important person. I don't know if you guys know that. Well, if you say so, brother. But there is a reality here, and QAnon is not a forbidden idea. It's an insane idea. You're perfectly free to check it out, but only lunatics believe it. And so buyer beware.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.